Welcome, and thank you for joining our webinar on viewing the latest nonprofit feature releases for Salesforce. My name is Ali Pakolnis, and I will help facilitate our webinar today. Before we get started, here are a few tips on using the Zoom platform so you can engage with our presenters and have the best experience possible. You should see a Zoom toolbar with icons for Ask a Question and Raise Your Hand. Please use the Ask a Question feature to submit a question or comment. If you need any assistance, click on the Raise Your Hand button, and I will connect with you to help. We encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation, and we will do our best to answer them all. If we didn't answer your question, we will follow up with you personally after the presentation. Within 72 hours of the webinar, you will receive a link to download the slide deck and recorded presentation. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to our presenters, Mark Foreman and Jalita Robinson.
Hi, my name is Mark Foreman, and I have about 10 years of experience working on the Salesforce platform. At least half of the time I've spent as an instructor teaching Salesforce, both virtually like this and in person for over 1,000 people in 3 continents and at least 15 states. So you are likely in good hands for this webinar. I've been at Armanino a little over 1 year. Luckily for us, we have Jalita as well helping bring you the NPSP, or Nonprofit Summer 23 release webinar. Jalita, take it away.
Hello, I'm Jalita Robinson, and I am a senior consultant with the Armanino Salesforce practice. My background is in providing technical and organizational solutions for nonprofits, and I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem since about 2015. It's great to participate, and thank you for attending. Mark?
All right. Yes, thank you, Jalita. This session is going to be all about the Summer 23 release. The good news is after this session, you will know even more about Salesforce capabilities than you do right now. And the even better news is we will be doing another one of these in about 4 months because, well, it will be the Winter 24 release. But for now, as they say, let's get this started. So the learning objectives is we're going to learn about the most recent features and updates for the Summer 23. You'll gain insights into some enhancements that can improve your nonprofit life cycle, and you'll understand how the best to manage this latest release to boost productivity in the areas that it covers.
For our first polling question, how many years of experience working with Salesforce do you have? Less than 1 year, 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, or over 10 years? We'll give you a few seconds to answer the first polling question. Okay.
Let's see. Wow, looks like we have about a third of us less than a year, and some people 5 to 10, or one person 5 to 10 years. Okay, let's close this one, and we'll do one more polling question here. Let's see. There we go.
Okay. Polling question number 2. What is your current role or relationship with Salesforce? Sponsor, an administrator, a developer, a business analyst, or just being curious? And we'll give you a few seconds to respond to the question.
Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, 2 administrators and 2 curious people. That means we actually got one more answer to the previous question. All right, let's get this started. Let's get into the agenda here. All right, so the agenda for covering the new features within the Nonprofit Summer 23 release will be broken down into 2 different areas. First, we'll cover changes that occur within the Nonprofit Cloud Case Management module, or NCCM. And then we'll cover the changes within the Program Management module, or PMM. Within NCMM, we will cover 5 different features, and they are using dynamic assessments with accounts, contacts, and cases, the ability to manage benefit schedules and sessions and track dispersed benefits with guided flows, ability to preview your care plan templates by using care plan summary view. We'll cover how you could use the referral intake guided flow because it has now a pre-built component. And then we'll talk about how you can quickly create and merge party relationship groups using another user interface flow. So you can kind of see the theme is there's a lot of guided flows that kind of help you do things that used to take a lot of manual steps. The second half of our agenda will be covering the new features within PMM, or Program Management Module. We'll look at the ability to use action plans for tracking tasks and documents for programs and benefits you offer from your nonprofit. We'll see some field level security setting changes, and the ability to track program and benefit activities can now be done chronologically. And finally, we'll look at how you can customize the benefit schedule workflow. So you can see the very specific changes or updates or features in the new release that are specifically tied to these 2 different add-on areas to nonprofit. So first up, though, is NCCM, which of course refers to the Nonprofit Cloud Case Management. So you can now do even more with dynamic assessments by creating them for accounts, contacts, and cases. For example, you could create like a questionnaire to periodically evaluate, for example, like a child safety on a child welfare case, or create an assessment for an individual or a group of individuals to determine whether your constituent group is eligible for a benefit or service. You could even give, for example, caseworkers even greater visibility into assessments by showing them in a related list on an account or contact or case page layout. So this would, if you're going to use these dynamic assessments, though, this would require public sector solutions first to be enabled. I see in the chat there's a question, Julita.
Yes, the first question here is, how can dynamic assessments help effectively measure and track the impact of programs and services over time?
Okay, that's a good question. So first of all, dynamic assessments in Salesforce Nonprofit, it's really a tool that helps you measure and track the impact your programs and services have over a period of time. So if you use these dynamic assessment features, you would be first creating an assessment, like a test or a questionnaire, tailored to the specific needs and objectives of the program or service you're offering. And then you would be essentially, with these questions, you'd be capturing the relevant data points that you want to measure and then track that at different stages of that program or service delivery. And then you can see how effective it's been. So yeah, this is how you assess the dynamic assessments, is really how you are able to effectively see if what you are offering is really helping the people that you're offering your benefits or your services to. So really, it's all about, when you put out a service, how do you know that what you're doing, the service you're providing are actually meeting the goals that you, for the reasons that you had them. So basically, you can also adapt or change them over time. So obviously, your programs will need to evolve based on the feedback you're getting from these new assessments. And as they evolve, they'll get better, and you'll be able to track how you are improving over time. So that's essentially one of the features that are part of this summer release, is the ability to use dynamic assessments. And you can also use this enhanced guided flow to help you, to help people fill it out. So in other words, you create the assessment, use the guided flow to kind of work through the questions. And then at the end of the process, you have all the answers to the assessment. Now, in the second item, you can define and manage benefit schedules and sessions with another guided flow, right? So the big theme here is guided flows. So in this case, you can see whether or how participants exercise the benefits that you provide by using schedules and sessions. So this is a little different than the assessment. The way this kind of works is you first enroll individuals or groups of individuals into a benefit session on a schedule, and then you're tracking their attendance. For example, if suppose you have weekly counseling sessions that you offer as your nonprofit, and you want to enroll parents of a household into those counseling sessions and then measure their participation to see if they're even showing up and tracking their attendance. So this is the tool that allows you to do that. You create the schedule with the sessions, and there's a whole bunch of steps here that kind of outline what you do. Is you first define the program model, you set up the program management, define the benefit types, and create the programs. And then after the programs are set up, you then start adding your constituents or participants to the program. And finally, you'll be able to get the data through tracking and reviewing the benefit disbursement. So for every benefit session, for example, a program manager can look to see who attended, what kind of benefits did we give when they attended. So it's kind of a mixture of, creating a program and then seeing who is participating in it, and then able to see that in reports. All right, let's move on to the next one. Next up, you can also now see a preview of the structure of care plan templates before publishing it. Before you couldn't do that, but now you can. So you can now kind of really see everything in place and adjust it before it goes live. After publication, you can then use the care plan summary view, which you kind of see up here on the screen, to see all the parts of the care plan all on just one page. The screenshot you see is that summary view I'm talking about. Oh, I see another question. Julita, would you care to read that?
Yes. Can care plan templates streamline and/or enhance the coordination and delivery of services for nonprofits?
Yeah, templates, they provide the standardized framework for creating, the organizing, the managing the care plan itself for groups of people or individuals who receive benefits or services from your organization. So when you use the template, you can ensure that there's a consistent and a comprehensive service delivery. These templates kind of allow organizations to kind of define, document, what are you trying to do? What's your specific goal? What are the tasks to meet that goal? And what are the different interventions that you need to address the unique needs of each client or person who's benefiting from your services? So basically, it's all predefined structure in place that helps you deliver services or programs in a structured, formalized, consistent way. So yeah, it's kind of like anything else you would see in a template. Is when you use templates, you tend to have a more standardized or formalized way of doing something. Care plan templates is really that same concept, but applied to the services and things that you offer as a nonprofit. So the other thing is using a template for your care plans really facilitates more data-driven decision-making, right? So when you are capturing data and progress, tracking this progress against the predefined goals, then you can kind of measure what's working, what's not working, the effectiveness, and then make, again, like we talked about before, you can make decisions on how to change what you're offering based on data that you're capturing, not just based on opinions or assumptions. You actually get to have the data inform you the changes you would be making to your programs. You get that all in one place in the summary view. The referral intake guided flow. Now you can customize and activate pre-built OmniStudio components to set up a guided flow for a referral intake. Previously, this was more complicated. You had to download the whole OmniStudio data pack, deploy OmniStudio components to again, having public sector solutions turned on, and then set up a guided flow. Now you can just use a pre-built component onto the web page. The status bar in number 1 kind of shows you the progress. You can have a checklist template that allows you to kind of add pre-configured checklists for each intake. And so what is a referral intake? It's essentially when you're getting the information you're capturing when you're doing a referral. So basically the checklist, which is I think the interesting part here, tells you what needs to be done. The related list and the details were in number 3, where you can do this. So there's really, these sections kind of include everything you would need in order to review an inbound referral. Basic client information, uploading of documents, creating and viewing assessments, recording an intake decision, creating program engagements, outbound referrals. The whole process is all in one place, but using a checklist, which kind of helps that intake process, making sure that all the bases are covered. So that is your Second to last, the last thing is the feature of the nonprofit cloud case management is an area called party relationship groups. So why even use party relation groups? So if you're a case manager, for example, you could group all your complaints or the cases together into a collective unit, like let's say a household, there's a new streamlined new group UI flow. So yeah, another UI flow, right? Previously, if you were a case manager, you need to create a party relationship group, which you can see all the steps that are involved right there. There's a lot of them, right? Then you needed to create a record for each member, right? And then you needed to relate that to a contact group or business account that had to be added to the relationship group. Lots of different things you had to do in order to create party relationship groups. But now there is a flow that does all this, right? It creates all these various records, all these different records, links them all together. And so basically it simplifies everything as far as grouping of these participants, and it reduces the data entry big time for case managers. So there's not only is the create flow, there's also a merge UI flow too, that if you're a case manager, you can merge one group with another. So before, if you wanted to merge two groups in this party relationship group idea, you had to basically move the members, relate them to other contact records from one group to another. You had to update relationship records. You had to do a lot of things where you could make a mistake, you could miss something. Now the merge UI flow itself just simply merges the areas that you want, the groups that you want merged, and handles all of the menial details on doing that. So that's party relation groups is the fifth area within the nonprofit case management module. The other area we're going to cover in today's session is the program management module. So if you're a nonprofit, you likely need a way to manage and measure how your programs are working. And that's where PMM comes in. That's what helps you do that. PMM, program management module, basically helps you define, plan, deliver, and track programs and benefits that you provide. It will help you connect all those dots so that you can make good real-time decisions on how to improve what you are trying to deliver in the way of programs and services, right? So program management module the programs that we are offering our constituents, this tool is going to help us do a better job of figuring out how we're going to deliver our programs, how we're going to track whether they're working and providing the benefits that we expect, that we're telling our constituents we're going to get by being part of this program. It's essentially an integrated Salesforce platform that gives you the insights, the collaboration that Salesforce is famous for, and making the whole process much more efficient and effective and standardized. Basically, in a nutshell, if you're like, what does program management module do again? It helps you plan and deliver the services that you provide as a nonprofit, which will save you time, right? Because it's all streamlined, and it gives you the ability to track the people who are participating and getting the benefits of what you offer, and see information, real-time information of how you're doing. Data tracking within PMM starts really with the person account object. So if you're using PMM, you're using the person account object, and this object stores information about the people who are receiving your services, the program participants. Each account record really what's called a participant profile, which gives you a single unified view of how that person, that participant in your constituent is engaging with your programs to help you determine where they need more support. So as you're a nonprofit, you have programs and services that you offer to your constituents. This guy right here, PMM, helps you do a better job of doing that and know if you're doing a good job or not. So let's look at 4 features within the Summer 23 release for nonprofit that are within this program management module area. And the first one are action plans. So action plans in Salesforce nonprofit provide nonprofits with a structured, again, this is all about, right? I mean, everything we talk about is really templates and structure, and an automated way to actually interact with your constituents, ensuring that there's a consistent and efficient engagement program with them. So some of the things that, benefits you get from action plans, if you use them in PSP Salesforce, is automation. So an action plan would allow you to automate the creation of certain tasks and events based on templates We even talked about templates for care plans. Here, action plans they have templates as well. And this will save you time and ensure that there's a consistent way of communicating with your constituents, right? So in the action plan, if it says, on day 1, we send this email, on day 3, we follow up with this phone call, that's what we're talking about, is that there's an automation that automatically triggers things happening at a certain time, either their task or events based on certain predetermined times. So there's a consistent engagement with your constituents. And therefore it's standardized, right? You can establish workflows and best practices for certain different types of constituents need to be, communicated with in different ways. So that's why you would have templates. Maybe one group of constituents needs to be interacted with regularly, like on a daily basis, and other ones maybe once a week. But either way, by standardizing it now, it maintains and improves the quality and the constituent experience. They feel like you regularly engage with them, and it's no effort for you because it's all automated. Tracking and monitoring is really much more possible using these action plans because it provides visibility into the progress, how you're moving against that, how the constituent communications are working against that plan, and give you status of interactions, and you can track just like you would see in Salesforce. Okay, we've had 3 completed tasks, we have 2 more left, and then we'll be finished with this plan. You can also customize them, so even there's some things kind of out of the box, but typically people will customize their action plans to fit the specific needs of their nonprofit. So like I said before, you could create a template with predefined tasks, certain assignees, certain people do certain tasks within your organization with certain due dates. And that's the process that you engage with your constituents by following that action plan. And then you can see how do we do against that action plan against our different constituents and report on that and see how are we doing. Is there, are they effective? Do we need to engage more? Do we need to engage less? Do we have different people to engage with our constituents? But either way, by your tracking and getting good reporting analysis, you're able to make data-driven decisions as opposed to just kind of seat of the pants decision on how are we doing as a nonprofit. We think our constituents like us, but we don't, is there any proof of that? I mean, how often are we communicating? Well, by using an action plan with the tracking and monitoring and reporting and analysis, now you can see how you're doing against how you determined ahead of time you wanted to engage with them. The second one is the field level security. This is something that we've seen in just standard Salesforce as they're rolling out changes to how field level security is being addressed. It's now been added to program enrollment, benefit assignment, and benefit disbursement objects. So you can actually restrict access now on these objects by permission set or profile. Oh, I see another question on here. Julita?
Yes. Okay. So the question regarding field level security, it says, do you recommend setting field level security at the profile or the permission set level?
Yeah, this is evolving because there's been a lot of changes in recent releases where permission sets to become even more powerful in the last couple of releases in Salesforce. The field level security can still be set at both profile and permission set level, but the choice is really, how are you using it right now? In the future, you want to be moving towards field level security at the permission set level because that's where things are headed. But for now, it can be done for both profiles and permission sets. And I would say use whatever you've been doing with an eye towards moving towards permission set. But this comment here in the summer release is really about that. It's field level security has been now extended to these 4 different objects that are part of PMM. The benefit activity tracking timeline component. In Salesforce and PSP, you can now see, using this timeline component, a consolidated and chronological view of constituent activities. So this is really a way of kind of viewing things the way most people think of things, is like we want to see how we're interacting with our, what activities associated with benefits are, but organized chronologically. So there are some benefits to this I kind of have listed here on this slide. It gives you this timeline component. If you put this on the page loud, it's going to give you a comprehensive view. It's going to basically consolidate the activities from all these different sources, like a task, event, email, calls, custom objects. So you're used to normally seeing this, all over the page layout in different sections, but with this timeline component, this now takes all of those different sources of records and displays it into a single timeline view, right? So you're taking all these different types of records, like events and tasks and so on, and seeing it as one record, similar to what you see as the activity timeline itself. But this is specifically related to the activity tracking. And therefore, you're getting a full, complete picture of the constituent activities in one place, right? So it's not just, I want to see what event attendance, I want to see donations, I want to see other things, but this gives you the ability to see all those things now chronologically displayed, rather than kind of seeing them individually in different areas of the page layout. This shows you kind of all this stuff together chronologically. So you see the chronological history of all the activities for the constituent. So basically, like it says, the efficient follow-up. Why is it more efficient? Because it's all in one place. You can you really have the centralized location to track and then follow up on activities. You can even see kind of upcoming tasks, outstanding actions, recent interactions. But again, when you see everything in one view chronologically, it gives you the history of how you've interacted with that constituent. And then it also allows, of course, by having it all in one place and in Salesforce, multiple staff members at your organization can now access it and contribute to that same timeline. Everybody's working on the timeline of the interactions or the activities or engagements of that constituent. When everybody sees the same thing, everybody's on the same page. And when everybody's on the same page, you can make better group decisions, so that there's a consistency and a consistent message to that constituent. And of course, you also have the ability to leverage all of this data from a reporting standpoint, right? So you can historically report. And if you see things historically over time, you now can see trends or patterns. And you can see, for example, it looks like some of these constituents are not engaging with us anymore. Like we haven't had any engagement with the constituents. We could be losing them. Now we could be potentially losing them as a member. We could be maybe losing the ability to get donations from them in the future. All right, the benefits schedule workflow using OmniScript. Here is OmniScript again. In order to offer an updated guided interaction for program managers according to their business needs, Salesforce says you can now customize this with the pre-built OmniScript for the benefit schedule workflow. Again, you got to have program management module, otherwise all of what I'm talking about here is not really relevant. But just for people who, which is probably most of us, don't really know what OmniScript is, it's really similar to ScreenFlows in that it does a lot of the same things, but OmniScript is different. It's basically a guided tool that allows you to build a relatively complicated sales or service process, but using drag and drop. So you're inside OmniScript and you are the builder, and you're dragging and dropping and designing how you will interact with your customers, creating specific sequences. So for example, some of the things you can do is you can have actions, you can where you like sending an email, updating data, right? So you're designing this process that involves actions that will sometimes display things and also collect input. So it's basically a tool for building an interactive process with your constituents. What's different is that in ScreenFlow, it's much simpler, where OmniScript is much more complex because the capability is just far in excess of what you can do with a simple screen. So all you need to know, if you're like, okay, so what is the takeaway here for this, is you can now create benefit schedule workflow, but it uses the OmniScript tool. All right, last thing we have for you is a polling question.
Okay, polling question number 3. Which management module are you familiar with? Case management, program management, both, or neither? And we'll give you a couple seconds to answer the polling question.
Both of these areas are not used by a lot of people within nonprofit. They're specialized areas, case management, program management. I do use program management a little more. It's an area that you need to become really familiar with before it's really relevant to know that the changes are what the changes are in each one. But it looks like we do have that. So as I expected, program management was more likely. Let's yeah, so those are the ones you'll want to take a look at. Let me just, because we do have 67% of them, let me just kind of slide back a little bit to kind of just really review this again in a few minutes. Is that in the program management module, there were 4 areas that were mentioned within the summer release. Those were the action plans. I think that's the area that is probably most likely to area you should focus on is, and it's really an area that is not as complicated as some of the other areas that are in here. And really in the action plans, as you're creating the action plans, where you really see the benefit in here is when you take that related list and add it right to your records. So now you can actually see the action plan for that contact, right, or that household. Field level security, this one's pretty basic because anybody who handles any admin would know about field level security within an object. This is just being extended to be able to hide or change the editability of certain fields within those 4 objects: program and program enrollment in the one side, and the benefit assignment and benefit disbursement on the other. And then finally, I think the other big one is if you're using the benefits area, look at that timeline component within the benefit activity, and you'll see that there's a much better way of viewing the data in this comprehensive view that gives you visibility of all these different types of records in one place chronologically. All right, so that's kind of like a quick review in here. Let's turn this over, I think, to Alexandria on some other classes in Salesforce or Armanino, like classes we have.
Yeah, so Armanino Academy offers both virtual and recorded Salesforce classes, so check it out. The link is in the presentation, which you'll receive after the webinar. But I don't see any more questions. So thank you, Mark and Jalita. Great job today. Thank you everyone for attending, and please remember to complete the survey as you close out of the webinar. Have a great day.
Thank you.